Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have back with us Kevin Coffey and Christina Keller with A Brighter Future, and we'll be talking about the devastating emotional consequences of foreclosure. Guys, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having us here, Mr. Saunders.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Hey, I think that this series has been so helpful because I really feel that so many times people get caught up in the process of foreclosure and they don't understand it. It's not something you deal with every day. So when they start getting these letters and these, the next steps from the bank, they don't know who to trust. They don't know where to turn. And that causes this whole flood of emotions, on like a roller coaster. And I can only imagine. So I'm excited to learn from you guys what you're experiencing and what you're guiding your clients that you're working with regarding the emotional consequences. So what are some of those emotional effects?
Well, I think one of the biggest one is the embarrassment. When somebody gets foreclosed on, they feel isolated, withdrawn from friends, the community, due to just the stigma that's around foreclosure. I have my own story. It's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about helping people avoid foreclosure. When I was younger, our house was foreclosed, and we end up, from an embarrassment standpoint and other reasons, moving out of Colorado. So for many years, I lived in another state, and one of the reasons I think my dad moved was because of the embarrassment of being a major business owner here in Colorado, and then being viewed as somebody who has a foreclosure. We end up moving out of state for many years. So it was a very embarrassing. It's depressing. That's another thing that people go through if they go through foreclosure. The fact that feeling of sadness, the grief of losing a security, stability, all the memories that were attached to that home. It's almost like losing a loved one. So it can be quite difficult emotionally on someone.
So when you let's talk a little bit about embarrassment, because it is embarrassing to the people that know, but in reality, how are people going to find out about it? Like, unless you tell people, like if you're at church and you go, "Hey, I just need some support. Here's what's going on." But where does the embarrassment come from? How far reaching is that?
Well, it is because, the fact that you have a house that's sitting vacant that doesn't sell. I mean, the neighbors are looking at that house as the weeds grow in the front yard, and actually the sump pump quit working in the basement and actually flooded. We had a chance to look at that house many years later as it went back into foreclosure, and we're looking to rebuy it. And there was a ton of water damage in the basement because the sump pump wasn't working. So, I mean, people know that once you vacate a house, that those weeds pile up, it's vacant, and then there's signs posted, and then it's listed on community websites, right? So, I mean, it's listed publicly.
And I would even think too that, like if you need help moving, because everybody's got all your life for years and years in your basement, your bedrooms, and you're going to need some help. And then you ask your friends for help moving, and they're like, "Oh, hey, what's going?" And you're going to have just a little bit of, tenseness in your voice. And so I think that's an aspect. You might have your friends that normally would come by the house and go, "Hey, what's up with that?" Yeah, that's a good point. That embarrassment aspect and trying to explain it and trying to just get past that. That's a big drain on you, which can really enhance negatively the experience, right?
Absolutely. And then there's the impact on relationships. I remember my mom and dad, the strain that it had on them, and the strain it can have on other loved ones if you think about in the family, and the blame game of, we should have done this financially different. Yeah. Or because of you, we should have done this. And all of a sudden, you have people blaming the other one before the circumstances. And so that, it impacts relationships. There's hopelessness about the future. When people lose hope, Mike, as they start doing the wrong things, where there's no hope, people lose vision. And when vision is lost, they make continued wrong choices. And so what I love about what we do and why I'm so passionate and about what we do is that we show people, throw people a lifeline to where we give them options. I wish my dad and mom would have had options like we give people today.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk a lot about that, a little bit at the end of the program, but there's a lot of hopelessness that people lose when they're going and get foreclosed on.
Well, I think a couple of the points that you're mentioning here really tie in and kind of build upon each other, unfortunately, in a negative way, because you mentioned depression. Well, if this process is happening and the embarrassment starts because of what we've mentioned, then all of a sudden you're starting to get depressed because it's like, why did this happen? And then the impact on relationships, like you already mentioned, like the blame games. And maybe it's not even the aggressive blame, like you shouldn't have done this, but maybe you're just sitting there going, why did I buy that car? What if I could have taken some more overtime hours? What if this? And sometimes things just happen and you're not able to put a reason why. So I think that impact on relationships is huge. And if you really, and you and I are not psychologists, I know, but if you start having that foundation of your relationship and your home life starting to erode, that then starts a downward path that's hard to recover from.
Oh, absolutely. And, now we're talking through it. There's another thing that we've seen people go through when they're facing foreclosure is deer in the headlights. They're still in denial that the bank's going to foreclosure. I mean, they do nothing because they are stunned. They don't know what to do. And so they do nothing. And doing nothing is the worst thing you can do when you're facing foreclosure.
Yeah. Well, let's talk also a little bit about that hopelessness for the future, because it's hard for someone to go, well, it just happened and that's the way that it is, and let's move on, and I'm sure it won't happen again. But unfortunately, many times people go, okay, this happened, it's depressing, I'm embarrassed, and that's just me. I'm just bad luck always finds me. And I guess the next place, maybe I'm going to start renting for a while, but I guess maybe I'm going to get evicted. And so all of a sudden that negative spin on your very next steps really can impact, your next move.
Absolutely. And, not to mention, we talked about many things that foreclosure can the impact it can have on people. But think about this, Mike, how many studies have been done where, when you're stressed out emotionally, it can cause chronic stress, like foreclosure can cause physical health implications.
Yeah.
Insomnia, just to name a few, headaches, exacerbation of existing health conditions. There's a lot of people that have autoimmune. There's studies out there that show that stress will cause people with autoimmune to have flare-ups, is what they call them. And we've known several people that had autoimmune type problems. So, there's a lot of things that, going through the stressful foreclosure process causes people. And so we're trying to give them a brighter future and give them some options.
Yeah. And the physical stuff is just unbelievably powerful. And it's, in my opinion, just hearing you describe that, it's not like it is just a one-off. Meaning it's not like, oh, I stubbed my toe, it hurts really bad, but 2 minutes later, I'm good. This is something where it's probably been building up because you got late on one payment, then you got late on another, then the whole process, and then all of these things where it's this elongated time frame. And then to your point, it can amplify any other things you have going on. And most people have something happening and then it just makes it worse. So talk a little bit about how all of that is tying together to really, it's not just a one-time event. It is a long time event, and then dealing with and moving past it. Even if you've, moved out and moved into the next place, you're still having those memories, kind of like what you were talking about before, like, oh, the blame game. And then that is keeping those physical effects still kind of simmering.
Yeah, it's a 7 years. Foreclosure will show up on your credit report for 7 years. And so, you probably won't be able to get a home for at least 5 years because people will lend to you. So not only are you going through the emotional effects of having and watching your house get foreclosed on and having to vacate a home that you have hopefully many joyful memories in, but then you're living with 7 years later a foreclosure. And so you're right.
Yeah.
It's a process that just lingers on and on and on.
Yeah. Well,
Tough.
so now we've kind of established the fact that this process, which is not fun, has the devastating effects of how it impacts us emotionally, which then trickles over into the physical. What are some of the solutions? What is it that you guys come alongside and help people with?
Well, Christina and I were sitting down one day and going through some of the challenges people go through, because I also do financial planning. And, there's a lot of challenges people are facing right now. But as we start seeing the economy start going down, I knew that there's going to be a lot more foreclosures. And, instead of just going by houses for cash, which a lot of investors do, we sat down, we came out with a great system that really does help the homeowner. And I was going to have Christina explain a little bit about our More Money for You program, where we can help people.
Yeah, so Kevin and I can offer options to help people avoid foreclosure and possibly even put a substantial amount of money into their pocket so they can have a brighter future. We have a program called the More Money for You program that we use, but we also have the ability to just purchase the home as is. Or if they'd like to partner with us, we'll renovate the home, sell it, and then share a portion of the net profits with them. This approach just allows the homeowner to get more money and possibly stop having the foreclosure on their credit, and it gives them the ability to, go find another place to call home and settle down and start over again. We cover all the expenses, and the homeowners can benefit from sharing of the profits. And our goal is to assist people during challenging financial times and help create a brighter future with them.
So, Christine, I know that every case is different and you can never say, here's the way it works every single time, but you just laid out a couple of different options that I've never heard in the foreclosure realm before, because most of the time it's like, oh, let's do this quick claim deed and get out, or here's this small amount of money and get out. And in the case of a certain house where it might be worth a lot of money and then you owe, like, let's just pick half of what it's valued at, boy, that homeowner is walking away from a huge opportunity that they cannot take advantage of because they're behind with payments and they don't have maybe some renovation money. So you guys are coming alongside to say, what is going to be helpful for you guys to help prevent this emotional distress, to help you get on a better footing, and you're literally able to front the money and catch up the payment and do the renovation and then sell it. And then you've done all the heavy lifting, and then you're sharing some of the profit back with them. And that's unheard of. I've never heard of that in the industry.
Well, not yet, until they met the mighty team of Christina and Kevin, Mr.
Yeah.
Saunders. And when we're talking about, when Christina said, it could be substantial, we could be talking close to six figures. Of putting close to six figure sometimes in people's pocket to send depending on their situation. So we're not talking just about a little bit of money. There'll be situations out there where homeowners have enough equity and where we can put, like I said, hopefully six figures or maybe even more, right, Christina, in certain circumstances in their pocket. Not all the time, obviously, but many times it's more money than just walking away from a house with nothing.
Yeah. Because you see those examples of the bank out there, they just, went to auction and the bank has it. And it's like, wow, that money, if it's 50,000, 40,000, 20,000 or six figures, that money's going to somebody. And may as well go to the group, you guys and the homeowner, to have a nice fair split. But I just think that that's the thing that people don't realize. You might have been living in the house for 10, 15 years and have just a nice amount of equity. Boy, if you just have someone that says, here's a small amount, just leave, you personally are missing out on a lot. And you might feel like, well, that's all I can do, I'm being foreclosed on. But this is a different kind of hope that's out there. I think that is just spectacular.
Yep. That's our goal.
Well, any final thoughts? I mean, this has been really enlightening, and I really can tell that you guys care about people. You're not trying to come in and just say, here's a lowball offer and just leave. You really have taken the empathetic approach. What's some final thoughts that you guys would have? And then also, if someone is interested in learning more and reaching out and connecting with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, so if they're interested in learning more about our foreclosure rescue kit, they can call us at 720-779-5350, or they can email us at youroptions89@gmail.com. Or if they just want to learn more about our company, they can visit our website at www.abrighter-future.com.
Excellent. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming back on and talking about this really important topic. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks,
Saunders. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.